Hello and welcome to our Saturday stream. This is the Fantasy Grounds Unity map and image creation, and I'm Josh. Every Saturday, or most every Saturday, we missed last Saturday, but 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we go through all of the image-related news as well as tips and tutorials, and we try to demonstrate the use of all of our image tools inside of Fantasy Grounds. And so we'll be getting going here. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today, so please excuse me if I am not quite on top of things like I try to normally be. And also, I'll probably be doing a little bit of a shorter stream today, but we have some stuff to talk about, and I wanted to make sure that I was here to do this today for you guys. We got a question already from Banks Naughty Bits. Is there a guideline for colors that aren't distinguishable under dark vision on a map? That would be clearly different under normal light sources. I'm thinking specifically of a message on a map. Yeah. So what you would actually want to do, probably the best where to look for something along those lines, because it's in the dark vision, it's going to be all based off of value. And so what you want is two colors that are of the same exact value, but are different in the color realm of things. And so as long as you have them very close in value, and so that means that if you turn them, and I can kind of demonstrate this for you pretty quickly here, how to set something up like that. So let's just grab, well, we'll just create a new little element here. And we'll just do this all with just painting, so you can kind of get a really good understanding of this. And I'll just set up my grid, and we'll just initiate this. We'll create a new painting layer, and we'll drop down our grid opacity here. And we can probably just turn it right off if we want to. And I'm going to demonstrate this using the right. So what you want to do is you want to have something that is the same exact value, but they can have different hues. So basically what you want to do is only change the color variant. And you can do that with a color picker really easily. So we can, I'll just start off, we'll create a little area in here. I'm actually going to do this. Let's just make this somewhere right in the middle, right? So, well, let's just make it like 125. So we have 125 in our alpha for our, well, actually, let's not do it with alpha. Let's not do it that way, because that's going to be a little bit too confusing. Let's do it with color itself, because we don't want to really mess with the transparencies. And as you can see here, we have a nice big kind of middle gray here. It's a little bit lighter than you'd normally do. And I'm just going to drag out a little section in here. You think? Yeah, let's see here. Okay, so here we have this little area in here. And you can see that this has no color information whatsoever to it. And so let's go into our area in here. And now, as long as I do something that is of similar value in here, right? Like this is going to be slightly different here. But let's change this. I'm just going to kind of eyeball this for the moment. And you're going to see how you can see this quite a lot. I'll just kind of paint right over this. You can see that we have a lot of difference in here. And then if we add an effects layer, which is going to be our grayscale. Oh. Let's see here, grayscale. And you can see now, you can only see that it's the value that has changed, right? Like you have no color information left in here. If I do this on two separate layers, so now let's say I have this as part of my floor, and I go back into here, and I'm going to make a new, let's actually just make a new painting layer. And we're going to, again, we'll drop this in underneath our grayscale. And I'll just draw over here. You can see that this is exactly the same. But if I move into this area here, I can now begin to adjust this until it completely blends in, right? So now we've completely blended this in to this background. Now when we turn this off, you can see now it's visible. Because this is exactly the same value as the gray that's behind it. So the easiest way to do it would be to paint out or put any image out here that you wish, and then adjust it in the actual Layers tab underneath a grayscale image. And this means that when your characters come in here with their dark vision, because dark vision will only show the values, it's all in grayscale. Then anything that is the same value as this, it'll not be visible to them. Even though a character walked in with, let's say, a torch, it would, excuse me, it would be totally visible. Hopefully that makes sense. And you can do it exactly the same way with an image. So let's just grab an image. Let's go into the easiest one to work with would be something that's white. So we have total control over the image itself, but something that has a lot of variance in shadow and whatnot might be a little bit more difficult to deal with. But let's grab something like this. As you can see, there's some variations in here. And again, if I drop this down in underneath, and we can turn this back on, I can now adjust this all the way down until I can get it to exactly where I want it to be. And you can see that that's going to blend in pretty well there. So here we, again, we have a nice bright color that's not going to be able to be seen at all in the... So you can do all kinds of hidden things and whatnot for your players who really like to abuse their dark vision. That's exactly correct. Exactly. All right. Well, now that we have that, if you have any other questions about that, please feel free to throw it out here. We'll be more than happy to talk about that some more, because that kind of stuff is super fun. I actually I like to use transparencies to do similar kind of things. You can get very complex very quickly though. So once you get down that rabbit hole, there's a long way you can go. So let's get back into last week. Oh, so before we get going any further, I know that the question kind of got us going there. But a new art pack that's coming out is a new coastal art package with all kinds of cool new stuff, as well as a new ships and boats art package for all kinds of cool boat and ship construction. All in fancy updated kind of graphics. I might be able to show a little bit of that. I don't think I have it loaded on this. I think I was working on my laptop for that. So maybe next week after it gets released. But let's get into last week we made, or not last week because it was the week before, we finished up our spaceship. We showed how we could do some nice cloaking effects and whatnot, which is super fun. We also added some nice lighting elements that kind of add some directional lights with some layered effects layers. We added all of our shadow content. We did lots of cool stuff. So this week we're going to start building some of the interior. And as I said, I'm feeling rather under the weather today, so we'll get as far as we can today before I'll have to exit, but we'll see what we can get done. And again, if you guys have any other questions or if there's something that you'd like to see me demonstrate further, feel free to throw it in the chat. I also use a lot of like shortcut keys and whatnot. So if I do something and you're not sure how I did it, please let me know, and I'm more than happy to explain. So last week, not last week, but the week before, we also created a duplicate of our image, and we made it just a silhouette. And the reason why we did this is so that we can plan out our interior structure without having to worry too much about how this is going to interfere. And then we made a little link to it so that we can actually pop it up. So if I close this down, I'm sure that most of you are all aware of this, But you can drag a link of any bit of information onto these areas. And I use this a lot, especially when I'm doing stuff. So I'll make notes, for example, and I'll drag them around and put all kinds of different information on them. One of the great things about the note is you can put anything in here and it'll pop up. So you can hover over it. So I can just use this as like a little reminder. Which can be super fun. So here we have the interior, and we can just click on that and it will pull this right up. And we'll start to build some of this exterior. I left the windows on so that I can maintain all of that kind of stuff. The reason because oftentimes, Spencer, and here's the question, is why link instead of just making another layer? Because I'm trying to demonstrate different ways to approach different scenarios. So oftentimes I will layer things right on top of each other and use a lot of different folder groupings to delineate the difference between the exterior and the interior. But I just wanted to give a different way of approaching it and how we can interact with the system in many, many different ways, whichever is more comfortable for certain people. But yes, you could just layer right on top of this. You certainly could. So what I'm actually going to do, excuse me there. What I'm actually going to do is start to build out some of the larger areas first. And the way that we're going to do that is we're first going to figure out why we're actually, or what the scale is going to actually be, right? So this is at 100 by 100 at the moment. We're going to change that. And so we're going to jump in here. First I'm going to put it down to 25 by 25. And you can see that now we have a lot more squares to work with. And depending on the scale by which that we want this to work out to be, I think that that's going to be pretty good, actually. Now, the reason why we change this is because Fantasy Grounds is quite smart in the way that it handles the images. So it'll automatically adjust the image scale, not from there, but from there. It'll automatically adjust the image scale based off of the scale of our gridding system. So let me just show you guys really quickly. So if I go into something that has the XML file attached to it, let's say we go into, let's go to the sci-fi one. Let's jump right into the let's see, where is it? Well, perhaps I don't even have it loaded here. I might have to grab it really quickly. Let's see. I think I do. Whoops. I think it's called Sci-Fi Interiors. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so when we jump right in here, for example, if we go into our decorations and we drag in something like maybe like one of these like retro kind of consoles, you can see it's automatically going to scale to the size of my grid. Now, if I change my grid size, and if I put this back to, let's say 100 by 100, well, not 1400, 100 by 100, and I grab the same image and drop it out, you can see that it will automatically scale to that particular element. So by setting up our grid system before we begin constructing the interior, we're kind of telling Fantasy Grounds exactly what to do, you know, how we want to change the interaction between all of these different systems. Yeah, we're going to do like a freighter. And I'm thinking what we're going to do, and this is kind of my idea that we're going to be doing here is I'm going to be starting off and building. This is probably going to take us a couple of weeks to finish. Probably we could do it today if I was going to be here for the entire time, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make it through. But what actually we're thinking about doing is a cool kind of not only interactive kind of map zone that we're going to be building, but also maybe like where we would have kind of climactic kind of battle or something. I was thinking maybe something along the lines of a rotating centerpiece in the engine room where we could have lots of cool kind of elements and make it really dynamic. And then we could build out the rest of the interior as well. So I think we're going to start down and through here. Now that we have our scaling down, I'm basically going to think about this in a couple of different ways. We're going to be using some of the same techniques that we used last time in where we're going to build one side and then duplicate it so that we can kind of quickly construct a very complex kind of image. And because we're going to have these two main engines here that we're going to be building off of, and then we'll have like this central kind of power core. And this will be like the main kind of engine area here. And then we can do like these large kind of freighter areas in through here. And I'm thinking that this is probably going to be like our fueling kind of bits and whatnot. We can kind of go through and do all kinds of stuff. I kind of like the idea of making it not so sleek in some of the elements, using some of these more like retro-y kind of these less modernized kind of elements instead of consoles like this. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So basically, I'm going to build right on top of this now, and I'm going to start to build out my entire area here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of do this in a little bit more of a structured kind of fashion. And again, I'm going to only do half, and then I'm going to duplicate it and flip it to the other side. So we're going to start to use a lot of these base elements and whatnot, but I'm going to come up here and go into our floors. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start to build out all of the different floor elements. Now we can do this a couple of different ways, right? Like we can paint it out, but I think for this particular, to flip it to be the most productive way, well, let's try first. Let me just see how the interaction with the painting system will work. But I want to use like some of these more like graded kind of floors, these ones that seem a little bit more, and we can actually use the tile system. It's something like this. And for the moment, what I think I'll do is instead of having this black silhouette, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change it. Let's see here. Oh, let's see. Interesting. Let's make it a little bit lighter. Actually, you know what we can do? We can just lower down the opacity of it, so it's not quite. So we have a little bit more of an element there. Yeah. Let's use the tile system. I haven't actually used it in a long time, so this could be pretty fun. And where did this go here? There it is. It's inside. Let's move it outside. And here I can just kind of snap this right along here, and I'm going to build out a really base kind of layer here. We might actually increase the size of these. We certainly don't need it to be this small. So let's delete that and delete that. Let's change this to be like 4 by 4. Yeah, that's pretty good. And that should make it so that we can kind of go out here pretty quickly. I rarely ever use this system, and we can actually maybe even do some larger ones. Well, you know, we should probably change the graphic if we do that. So, oh, are these all going in here? Maybe what I should do is create a new folder to put them in. Let's call this interior left. Yeah, so why don't we build like this? Let's see what else we have here. We have a few of these other kind of grade systems. And we'll build this right along here. We probably don't need that one. That's a little bit too close to the edge here. We'll be putting up our walls and whatnot. But I'm actually going to be building out, I want to have like these big open areas. We'll make these little like walkways and whatnot, make it feel like there's these massive giant pieces of machinery. And then we switch back over to here. Let's see here. Yeah, I think that if we build this, because we have this little divot in the inside here, so we can do like these large pieces of machinery, and then maybe do some like balconies and whatnot here. And that sounds pretty fun. So I'm going to pull this out to maybe about here, and then go straight down. And then I'm going to switch to a different type of floor. Maybe we'll do, I still want to keep it very industrial feeling. So like these will be great for our little like walkways and whatnot. I'm going to be putting these like right over the top of some of this. I want this to be feel like there's a multi kind of layered, like we have these very industrial kind of gratings, and then on top of that you have these more standardized kind of walkways and whatnot. Maybe we'll make this a little bit smaller. Something like that. We'll do like a control panel here, and then we'll build out some nice big machines. That sounds very cool. And I can use, we can use a multitude of different types of layers here. We can even create a new painting layer. And we have lots of cool brushes that we can use, add in other decorative kind of elements as well. But a lot of these floor pieces can be used in this way in addition to that. So let's make sure we get into our painting area here. And I think I'll make this like 2. And I'm going to hold down Control to kind of snap to the grid here. Yeah, the last one there didn't quite work the way that I wanted it to. Let's try this again. There we go. And I think what we can do is just build in some of these like walkways on this. I'm not going to do it quite yet until I start to figure out what my interior area is going to be here with all of these different elements. And then we'll have like a central kind of platform here. And we might do that after the fact, but let's start to build up some of this other stuff in here first. Now I'm going to go into my brushes. And I think I'm actually going to be doing my walls kind of near the end. So we have a railing that we can add in, and I'm gonna put this as a floor, and I'm going to create a new painting layer on top. I'm not sure what other elements I'm going to be doing, but we have some like railings here. Pipes and whatnot. And I can erase this stuff after the fact, so I don't have to worry too much about where I'm going to be placing these things later. So if I'm going to be adding in some additional elements, I can come in with my eraser and I can remove anything that I decide is not necessary. And I think what we'll do is we'll add in some of these other kind of things as well. And again, I'm holding down Control so I can snap to the grid while painting these out. You can see that that's just going to make us a really nice kind of a little area in here that is very relevant to being what it's supposed to be. And what I'm also going to be doing is I think I'm going to actually use some of the Spaceship art package and do some background. Behind this, that's going to be like all of those bits of machinery and whatnot that's going to be down in underneath. And we can be building some like consoles on here and whatnot. This will be like a control platform. So here we have lots of different decorations. Let's do a background behind it first, I think, before we get too far into it. And we'll go into our decorations here. And you see we have all of these mechanical kind of pieces like this. And I think we'll use something like this. And I'm just going to drag and drop this out here. And we're going to make make these a little bit larger, obviously. Let's make this like large. And I'm just going to be putting this kind of subtly in the background underneath all of these things. So if I drop this down in, and let's say we put this underneath down and through here, as you can see, this is going to be this really cool kind of base that we can use, and I can just keep duplicating this, and I'll flip it so we get this nice kind of cool thing here. And then I guess we should probably do them all at the same time, because now what I can do is I can duplicate both of these and then flip them both this way. And then I'm going to grab all of these and again duplicate them. And now we have this nice kind of repeating kind of pattern here. And I can grab these ones and move them over to the side, and I'll rotate them. Let's see, these ones are, let's make them all the same kind of Whoops. Well, that's not too bad. Let's just kind of stack them up here a little bit. I think I'm gonna do this again. Hold on. Let's delete these and let's make them an even number. I wasn't paying attention when I started here. That's a quick fix. Oops. I want to move that. Let's hit Control Z to put that back where it was. All right. So we want this to be something like. I don't really want it to be 7. Let's just make it 6. So it's going to fit into all of these squares appropriately. And let's flip it, and then I'll grab these. Perfect. And what I'm actually going to do is I'll place these all in their own folder here. And let's drop these right on top. And we're going to drop this underneath here. And I'm actually going to just lower down the opacity of them. So they're like this little bit in the background here, as you can see. I just want it to feel like that there is extra machinery down there. We can add additional elements. And the cool thing about this is because it is down here, I'm not exactly sure why. Let's see here. It's like that this one. Not sure where this grate ended up being. It's not in here. Let's see, that's all of our mechanic. It must be down on the ship or something. Yeah, some of these ended up in here. Let's get these out. And let's put these in here where they should belong. There, now we have everything the way that it should be. And so, yes, we have this nice little like background kind of image, and I want it to be nice and very subtle. So we might even go a little bit further down. So it's just kind of this thing in the background. We could even do some effects layers in between and whatnot to really enhance that kind of scenario there. And you can see when we turn the ship off, we have that kind of same kind of feeling. Great, now that we can start to, we could even add in some additional kind of elements and whatnot on top of it and really make it complex, but where we want it to be just like that background kind of feeling, I don't think that's necessary. And we can add in a lot of shadows and stuff down there too after the fact. We will be using some of this stuff, but I'm going to be building it a couple of different ways here. Well, we can actually kind of add in some of these elements now. And we want to make sure that it kind of makes sense with all of this kind of stuff that's coming in here. So some of these rather cylinder type elements and whatnot could be super useful. We could also use some of these propulsion elements These are great for this kind of stuff. So we could drag in something like this. And again, where we have this background element, we can drop it down in here and it should. There we go. We could do something like that. We could add in some of these other elements. You should be careful with this though, because when you do this, it's gonna add all of the kind of stuff that's in between, in behind it, showing through. So I think we'll keep it on the exterior there. And I think what we'll do instead is just make it a little bit darker. We could start to add in some color here if we wanted to. But let's make it something around like 100 across the board here. Oops. We can start to pull out some of these neat little stuff in here. We can even make this a bit bigger. Let's make this like 10. And we could use this a couple of different times here. We can duplicate it. And again, we can change all of these different elements here and really make it feel like that they are, even we could use the same parts over and over again. And just by changing the size, the rotation, and all of these things, we can make it feel like there's lots of different elements there. And we can even, we'll be able to paint in a bunch of hoses and whatnot. It'll be super fun. I'm going to make a new folder for all of this stuff. Let's call this engine parts. And we'll drop it down to its proper location here. And what we should actually probably do is change the this to that. And I think what I'll do is take this one and drop it down in underneath. And then we can duplicate all of these. Maybe we'll do something like this. Yeah, that's starting to feel very engine-like. And then what I think we'll do is we can duplicate that one. I think we'll flip it this way and maybe put it like this. And we'll drop this down here too. Let's line these up a little bit better here. So they're a little bit even across the board there. Now we can go into our sci-fi interiors. Excuse me. We can get into our decorations here, and we're going to start to add in some elements. And so this, we'll call this actually engine parts lower, because this is just like our backgrounds, like down in underneath. And we'll create a new folder. Engine parts upper. We'll, again, we'll actually probably put this on top here. Maybe not. Might have two of these. Well, let's put underneath for right now. I want to have some parts that kind of go in underneath this stuff. But we have all of these machine parts in through here that we can start to build all of this kind of cool stuff with. Yeah, I think what we'll do is actually let's make two of these. Actually, let's do another set of these. We'll put these on either end here. I like the idea of, we'll put this underneath. Kind of the exposed energy arcing across there. And maybe we'll do another platform here with a little walkway out to it. And a control panel over here. Sometimes that's a little bit finicky. And we can start to build out some of these other elements. And you can see how quickly you can start to build them, and we can spend a lot of time on this side, and we're going to do exactly the same thing on this side, but all I'll have to do is duplicate all of this stuff and just flip it. And maybe what we'll do is I feel like this should have like a large kind of circular platform underneath. I think that would be cool. I'm going to put this underneath everything, but I'm going to do a couple of these that come right across here. Then I'm going to grab these, and we're going to increase their length here, 8. And then I'm going to drop them in underneath. I'm going to grab all of these. No, let's see here. I'm going to grab these and put them underneath here. Yeah, that's cool. And we might even want to tint these a little bit, make them a little bit different color. We can start to add some color variations in through here. And we can add in, let's see. You know what, I think what we could do is if we just grab these ones. I'm going to duplicate these and drop them in right in on top of the ones that were there before. Well, this one needs to go on top. And I'm going to grab the 4 that are on bottom here, and I'm going to make these ones a little bit wider. And let's flip them. Yeah, that's a little bit too wide. Maybe they just need to be a little bit longer too. Maybe if we grab them and move them in to where they should be. Looks like I got this one involved in it too. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. Although this one has to go back to its original size. Should be 2 by 4. Yeah, we'll actually build, I think, like a neat little encasing kind of element around this. And we can do some hoses and things coming off of it. So I hope everyone's having a good week. Enjoying themselves. I could probably just stretch this right across and put this in underneath. And now we can go back into our lower and then start to build up some of this other stuff. I'm going to move this one actually down in underneath. And then we'll start to work in this area. And again, I'm going to go back into the Spaceships art package. I'm not exactly sure why this is so much fun, but it is. Just dragging and dropping these images out and creating new elements with them. I think we're going to make this pretty big and put it underneath the entire thing here. Even though it's going to distort its quite a bit here. I think it'll work good as a background kind of thing underneath there. Yeah. It just gives us a little bit of variation down there. And then I'm going to readjust some of these. Let's move these ones all on top, so we get like these nice little variations. We might even want to put some elements like this. And again, if we want to, if we're going to be using a lot of these, see, let's make it, yeah, like this. Hmm. Interesting. All right, so we got a lot of like little base elements in here, and it looks pretty industrial. We can close up a lot of this stuff. And now let's go over into our interior art package here. And I think we'll grab one of these like base kind of like consoles. Yeah, I think we'll do something like this. You might even want to put like some of these wall lights around. And we can use, if we go into our spell templates, I wonder what, yeah, we could definitely, but we could go into our decorations here. We have a nice little like lightning bolt that we can use, which this works really well for this kind of stuff. And we want to shorten this down. And then when we do our lighting effects and whatnot, we can do all kinds of really cool stuff in here. And I think I might even change its color a bit. Maybe something like this. And what I'm actually going to do is duplicate it. And I'll make it narrower. And I'm just going to hold down Control and move it to the side. And then I'll duplicate that one. And I'll flip it. I think I'll flip it this way too. So we get all kinds of cool, like, arcing energy. Maybe we'll just shorten it up a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty cool. We might even want to add in a nice effects layer. Let's do something like water. And what I'll actually do is create a mask here. And we're going to blur out those edges. Let's move our droplet down here. Might even want to do ocean for this. And we can mess around with these until we get something that yeah, something like this. Oh, have you, Spencer? Yeah, I think it's a cool idea. I'll show you some other cool things that we can do as well. There's a we can also add in, let's say, for example, for an effects layer, to add it a little bit more here. We can do clouds, or maybe even mist. No, clouds I think will work better. And we'll bring down the intensity of our clouds. And we'll drop this underneath our ocean so it gets affected by it as well. We'll drop the shadows all the way down. And that'll just create some variations in there. What you can actually do is, if you want to, you can make a rather interesting little area in there. So you get these little fluctuations in lightness through there. Super fun. And then what we'll do is we'll create some nice little walkways out through here, and some little areas out that come out from here. And I think what we should do is do like a circular kind of platform here. Which will be super cool. And then we can build out all kinds of different kind of elevation elements. Right, yeah, you gotta have your players, you gotta give them something to be afraid of and also interested in, right? All right, well let's move all the way up into our and we'll go into our well, let's use our one of these floor elements to do our little walkways. Maybe something like this. And then we'll build a little bit of like barriers here. I think what we can actually do here I think I'm going to make a new painting layer and try something out here. I'm going to it's not quite not exactly what I would like to have. So I think what I'll do is I'll actually go into the Spaceship art package. And I'll grab some of these hull parts. Yes, some nice round ones here that I can kind of use. Maybe something like this. And I'll just squash it in a little bit. And then I'll drop this down in underneath like that. Yep. So the question is, how did I make the circle shape? So you can, with your brush tools, so let me just move over here. we can do rectangles, ellipses, or just a line tool. And so when you're using your line tool or your ellipse, you can drag out an exact rectangle or a circle. So depending on, and you can do this, not necessarily, you can do it with any of these tools. So if I were to make like a red image here, you can see. You can do all of this as well. And then you can come back in, and then one of the great things about doing this is we can erase parts of these. It's kind of weird what just happened there, but you can then come back and erase after the fact any bits that excuse me there. So we can just use parts of it or all of it or whatever we want to do. Oh, thank you so much, Lord Ulrich. I really appreciate that. Yeah, this is really starting to feel cool, and I'm really starting to enjoy this. I'm wondering if maybe I should just continue this one image as my walkways. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can make a, so if you were, we grab a wall brush, for example, or fence or whatever it is. Maybe we'll do some mine tracks here. And let's say pull out a nice square of mine tracks, and maybe I'll even, you know, have some that, whoop, come around like this. I can then come in and erase any bits that I want, as you can see. And you can even now undo your erasing and just like that. So you can certainly pull out, and I'll do this on another layer so that we can. So here we have this like stone wall, and let's say I'm making a building, and I decide that I want to have, I can make sure that my size of my eraser is appropriate to whatever it is that I want to do. And I can just erase out a specific section. So let's say that's going to be where my door is. Maybe I want to have another one over here, and boom. And then I can even come back in and hold down Control and snap right to the grid system. Boom. So you can see how quickly you can build structures and interiors and whatnot with the painting tools, which is why I primarily use the painting tools. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll get rid of these. And I'm going to use the this particular image to add in some addition. Excuse me. So let's go back into our sci-fi interiors. We can go into our floors here. And I'm just going to hold down Control so I can snap right to wherever I want it to go. To line right up to the grid system. Again, I'm going to hold down Control. and fill in those gaps there. And over here, I'm going to add in another, well, I think I'll do it here. Do that one more time. I think what I'll do is I want to change the order of this a little bit so I can pull out some walkways that go right to here. Yeah. And then we'll do one this side as well. And what I'll do is I'll make all this stuff on top so we don't have to worry about it too much. And then I can come up to this level and you can see with my eraser I can now remove the bits of this that I don't want to have included, these railings. And I can add in railings to these sections as well right here. I think we'll just leave it maybe like to the edge there. And I haven't really figured out how I'm going to, we'll probably have the entrance to the area right here. I wonder how this will calculate. Let's see. Not exactly as I anticipated. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go right around the edge here. Well, let's try that one more time. The other thing that can be noted is that when you're doing this, if you start a line, let's say I control click here, if I hold shift, well, I guess not anymore. Or maybe it's alt now. Nope. At one time, if you held shift down, it would only go at certain angles. Maybe that's only for line of sight, actually, now that I think of it, not painting tools. So when we're doing line of sight, yeah. If you start to do line of sight, if you hold down shift, you can only go at 45 or 90-degree angles. That's correct. The question is, when using the stamping tool, and I'm assuming you mean by the stamping tool in the painting area, the stamp tool. When using this tool, there is no line of sight that's attached to it. That's correct. Oops. Yeah, you bet. And I think I'll change this over here too. We might as well just do all of these a little bit more angularly. Which means we should probably do that one. Yeah, so we've got quite a lot going on here now. And I'm only going to be on here for a little bit longer. Oh, thanks, Dominic. So why don't we add in some cool stuff before we get going here. What we're actually going to do is we'll be building a middle section here and then adding another section over here of exactly the same thing. So let's do some of the fun stuff. So let's, I'll actually, I'm going to put this in here. Whoops. We'll move this all the way up. And we should put the floor in here too. And this layer as well. We can create a new folder for effects where we can add in all this stuff. And so in our effects layer, we're going to add in our shadow layer, which we're going to use an adjust colors layer here. And we're just going to drop down the darkness, I mean the brightness. Something like this, maybe even like add a little bit of a, well, we have this kind of blue light, so our shadow should be a little bit red actually. And we'll be blurring this out. So we can add these kind of cool shadows that are going to be cast from this. It's going to need to be a little bit darker than that. You might even want to drop this down more, maybe a little bit less of that. Yeah, something like this. Maybe we'll bring this up a little. Well, this seems to have been changed a little bit, so we'll have to make some adjustments for how we use it. But we can still make do. I'm going to create some of these like little shadows down through here. We should probably see how dark this is down here? So we should probably not use it down in there. Should probably do two separate ones for these areas. But some of this is going to work out pretty good for us. And we can blur it more or less depending on how much we want it to kind of do this. And we can even do another one. Let's do another adjust colors where we're going to do this kind of blue-green light. On these things. You can see this is going to create this really cool kind of, and we're going to blur this out as well. And this is going to be like our highlights off of this. This is what's going to really make it feel like that this is going to be illuminating this area. Oh, certainly. Oh yeah, absolutely, DJ Breakdown. That's what I'm working up for. Yep. So we're building our little area in here, and then I'll show you guys how you can set it up so you can actually create some neat little inventions here. Yeah, sure. Now what I can do is I can just jump back and forth between these two layers in the same kind of mode here, and I can add in all of my shadows and highlights as I move back between the two. And then we'll actually even add in our own like lighting systems and whatnot. But yeah, absolutely. The question is, can I please show the flipping before I go anywhere? And that's absolutely no problem whatsoever. We did it in the previous episode with the entire ship. We built this entire ship one half, and then we flipped it. All I'm going to do is take everything that I have here. I'm going to turn off these effects layers, and I'm not going to. You can't flip the effects layers, so I would do those separately. So this won't have the lightning bolts included in it. But everything that I'm going to flip, I'm just going to grab a new folder, and I won't even name it. So I'm just going to grab all of these things. I'm going to drop them right into this folder. So here we have all of it. Now all I have to do is select this folder and duplicate it. Now there's a slight bug right now where all of the external, it duplicates it twice. So we're just going to delete these ones that are outside of the folders. Let's see here. We got all kinds of stuff going on here. It seems that the duplicating thing is getting a little bit wonky here. So I think what we want to do actually is delete all of this stuff. So we have, yeah, it's just adding a whole bunch of new different ones here. So what we want to do is once we have all of these folders selected that we want, right? Once this has got everything inside that the other one does. It's just duplicating a whole bunch of extra stuff for some reason at the current moment. But now that we have this, right, I can move this as one particular unit, as you can see. I've duplicated everything that I've just created there. And I can move it over to the other side, and all I have to do is just flip it. And it will flip everything exactly the way that I did. And I can just line this up, and now we have an exact copy of everything. Now it doesn't allow you to do the same thing. You can't create a effects layer and duplicate it and flip it because of the way the masking works. But this is all works exceptionally well. Yeah, you bet. Currently, there's, as you can see, when you have lots of folders and lots of other things, excuse me, it's creating duplicates of it, but that'll get all sorted out. So let's say, for example, if I turn this back on, you can see that the effects from that area are still over here. So I'll just delete these. Oh, I didn't mean to. I'll just delete these. Let's hit the right button, Joshua. But you can see everything is still here. And I can go back into this folder and turn those effects back up. Yes, you should do all of your... Right, the last thing that you should do is your effects layers. Because you should just do one, basically, right? You don't want to have multiple effects layers to do the same thing. So if once I have everything all set up, I'll do an effects layer. Let's redo our ocean one, for example. I only need one. I don't need to have one in each side here, right? That's these ones are unnecessary. So let's delete those. So what I want is I just want to have the one for both sides, and then when I'm going to create my mask, I'll just and then let's move in our distortion a bit here. And we'll blur it out a little. Because the mask is an independent system and you can't interact with it the same way. I can't come over here and flip it. You can see there's no interaction here for that layer. But this is why I like to, especially if I'm doing something that is symmetrical, I can spend a lot more time in doing all of this little detail work and creating these complex kind of images with lots of different base images, because I know that I can just grab it and duplicate it and flip it to the other side. And I can still go in and let's say, for example, if I want to make minor adjustments, like maybe I only want to have one console, I can delete this one. I can come in and change this. Maybe I want to have this one to be malfunctioning. So I could come in and do all of my scoring effects and whatnot and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So my idea is that we'll have this like central kind of thing, and we're going to create some neat kind of systems in here for interacting with this. We're going to set up like almost like a boss kind of fight thing where, as DJ Breaktime has talked about, we're going to have like some round triggers. So on particular rounds, there might be something that turns and changes, and how to set that up so that it's easy to manage. And we're going to do that all with our folder system, and I'm going to do that in a central kind of location here. And so we'll have connecting elements that kind of come through, and we'll create a whole thing just like this. As you can see here, like with this, I can rotate this entire thing. But if I break this down into particular elements, if I want only have the central section to rotate, I can do that by setting it up properly in my folders. And that way we can create moving kind of maps that we interact with during play. Because as we move these around, it updates in real time to our players. So do you guys have any other questions before I call it for the day? And I should be back in full swing this next week. So we'll do a full 3 hours this next week. And also coming up is the Gen Con. And that's going to be this month. And I'm going to be doing a couple of seminars there. So if you guys are interested in that, it's going to be going through not only all of the image tools and whatnot, but also we'll be going through all of setting up lighting, line of sight, and a lot of stuff. So I'm going to be doing 2 3-hour seminars for that. Yeah, you bet, DJ Breaktime. Thank you for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you guys always showing up and being such a great community. It's my absolute favorite. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to call it for today. Again, I apologize for not being my top performance today, but we'll get right back at it next time. And we'll be able to do a little preview of the new art pack that's coming out as well. 2 new art packs that are coming out. I have 8 new art packs that will be coming out to the end of the year, and then 3 new themes. So exciting stuff. Oh, I love faux. Yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. Take care.